Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, you know, telling me they love me and, you know, just turn their back on you in a second.
People don't know how serious it got. Like, it was legit crazy scary. I was waking up in the morning and the first thing I was doing is popping pills and smoking a blunt and starting my day. You know, so it just got scary. I basically said to myself, oh my God, if you're real, you get me through this season of stopping these pills and stuff, and if you do, I'll do the rest of the work.
I mean, what's the odds that you would do that in front of a camera? Like, that's one of the moments where he forgot he was on tape.
For years, the public has been told a familiar story about Justin Bieber and Sean Diddy Combs. A talented teenager enters the music industry, is taken under the wing of a powerful mentor, and is guided toward global fame. On the surface, it looks like a standard industry success story. But new claims connected to the Diddy documentary suggest that this narrative only shows a small part of what really happened. According to statements linked to the documentary, Justin Bieber has said that he saw everything. Not just what viewers were shown, but also the material that was later removed. Footage, conversations, and moments that never made it into the final cut. He has also said something far more serious, that he did not just witness these events as an outsider, he lived through many of them himself. As Diddy's protege, Bieber was deeply embedded in his world at a very young age. He spent time around Diddy, learned directly from him, and was shaped by that environment during his most formative years. Diddy taught him how the industry works, how power moves behind the scenes, and how to navigate fame. But that level of access also came with exposure to things the public never saw and was never meant to see. Let's take a closer look at what was reportedly removed from the Diddy documentary, why certain details may have been cut, and why Justin Bieber's perspective is so important. By examining his connection to Diddy and the experiences he claims to have lived through, we begin to see a much more complex and troubling picture of that era. This is not just about a documentary edit. It is about understanding what was hidden, who knew, and how it may have impacted one of the biggest stars in the world. For a long time, people questioned whether 50 Cent would actually release what he had been hinting at. There were interviews, posts, and warnings, but no finished product. Now it exists. A multi-part series that attempts to map out Diddy's entire rise, not just the success, but the environment that followed him everywhere, the power, the access, and the silence that came with being close to him. Throughout the documentary, fragments of old footage resurface that feel completely different today. Moments that were once brushed off as jokes or industry culture now land with real weight. One of the most unsettling involves a very young Justin Bieber spending extended private time under Diddy's supervision. At the time, it was framed as mentorship, exposure, and opportunity. But the lack of clarity around what was happening and the insistence on secrecy feels alarming when placed next to Bieber, later admitting how destructive that period of his life truly was. He has said the darkness was so deep that he does not believe he would have survived if it continued. When someone who lived it says that, the context changes entirely. As the series unfolds, it becomes clear that 50 Cent was not interested in a polished legacy piece.
I believe Cassie's a victim in all this because she came in as she's like 18, like 19 years old. In the very beginning. After a while, over time, you condition for it.
The voices included are people who were inside the circle, former associates, security, artists, and insiders who describe an atmosphere built on control and fear. They talk about behavior spiraling out of control, environments where excess was normalized, and situations that pushed people to the edge. These are not distant accusations. They are first-hand accounts from people who say they barely made it out alive. When the documentary dropped on Netflix in early December, the reaction was immediate. Clips spread everywhere. Viewers were stunned by how blunt some of the claims were, especially with Diddy currently incarcerated and awaiting trial. The timing alone made it feel like a line had finally been crossed. But even with all that, it quickly became clear this was not the full story. 50 Cent himself hinted that what made it to screen was only a portion of what he uncovered. Some material was considered too dangerous to air. Other stories were still unfolding as the series went live, with new people stepping forward the moment they realized the silence was breaking. To understand why certain details remain buried, you have to look back at the history surrounding Bad Boy itself. The late 1990s were not just about music.
The hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that behavior.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's gonna say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time. Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll see the truth in it.
They were about territory, power, and survival. When Biggie was killed in Los Angeles in 1997, it sent shockwaves through the industry. The official narrative focused on the loss of a legend and the violence of the East Coast-West Coast conflict. But behind the scenes, there was panic. Artists and insiders were scattered, unprotected, and unsure who could be trusted. That same night, other members of the Bad Boy Circle were dealing with their own threats. One artist found himself effectively trapped, isolated, and surrounded by people he believed might be there to harm him. Help did not come from where he expected it. People who should have had his back disappeared. That moment shattered any illusion of loyalty within the camp. It was no longer about brotherhood or family. It was about self-preservation. In the years that followed, subtle hints began to emerge. Interviews where artists spoke carefully, choosing words that suggested far more than they could openly say. References to documents, knowledge, and experiences that could not be shared without consequences. The message was clear. Being inside that world meant knowing things that could put you in danger simply for acknowledging them. This is why Justin Bieber's comments matter so much now. When he says he saw everything, including what was removed, it does not sound like exaggeration. It sounds like someone recognizing a familiar pattern. Access at a young age, silence framed as protection, experiences that stay hidden for years. The 50 Cent documentary is not just exposing one man. It is pulling at a thread that connects decades of unchecked power, and Justin Bieber's story may be one of the clearest examples of how long that thread really is. The documentary does not just leave out small details. It avoids entire people, entire timelines, entire perspectives that would have made the story far more complicated and far more uncomfortable. There's one major missing chapter that makes the gaps in the documentary impossible to defend. And this one centers on Justin Bieber, not as a passing cameo, not as background footage, but as a story so uncomfortable that Netflix avoided it entirely. In 2009, Justin Bieber was only 15 years old. He was still a teenager from Canada who had just been discovered online, singing in his bedroom with no real understanding of how the industry worked. His fame was brand new, his world was small, and his power was non-existent. That was the moment he entered Diddy's orbit.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah,
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
That same year, Diddy uploaded a video to his own YouTube channel titled Justin Bieber 48 Hours with Diddy. On the surface, it looks light and playful, a powerful music executive hanging out with the next big star. Diddy even frames it as a dream situation for a teenager. But then the tone shifts. He says he has custody of Bieber for 48 hours, and then he adds something that has never sat right with people who revisit the clip today. He openly states that where they are going and what they are doing cannot be disclosed. That detail is the problem. This was not said privately. It was said on camera, publicly, about a minor, a 15-year-old spending 2 full days alone with one of the most powerful men in music, with the clear implication that the details were off limits. That is not mentorship. That is not normal industry behavior. And the fact that it was presented so casually at the time only makes it more disturbing now. In the video, Bieber is smiling. He looks excited, but context changes everything. We now know how vulnerable he was during those early years, how fast fame overwhelmed him, how close he came to destroying himself. When that footage resurfaced years later, especially after Diddy's arrest, people did not see it the same way. Comment sections exploded. Viewers Viewers described the video as unsettling, creepy, and deeply inappropriate. What once looked like a celebrity hangout suddenly felt like something much darker. And yet, 50 Cent's documentary does not include it. Not a clip, not a reference, not a discussion. In 2025, Justin Bieber's team released a carefully worded statement that only added to the unease. His representative clarified that Justin was not identifying himself as a victim of Diddy, but in the same breath, they acknowledged that other people were genuinely harmed. That distinction matters. It suggests knowledge without disclosure, experience without detail, survival without explanation. Bieber himself has spoken openly about how dark that period of his life was. He has said plainly that he does not believe he would be alive today if things had continued the way they were going. He credits stepping away and finding stability as what saved him. When you place those statements next to that 2009 video, the questions become unavoidable. What really happened during those 48 hours? Why was secrecy emphasized so strongly? And why was this footage never addressed in a documentary claiming to expose the truth? Justin Bieber is not the only example. Years before Bieber, another child star was placed in Diddy's care, Usher. In the early 1990s, Usher was just 13 years old when his family sent him to live with Diddy for a full year in New York. The arrangement was called Puffy Flavor Camp.
Moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I
Come
mean,
on.
but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
The idea was simple on paper: mentorship, exposure, learning the business. But Usher has since described that year as wild and overwhelming. A 13-year-old living full-time in an adult world filled with nonstop parties, industry figures, and situations he was far too young to process.
What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time. You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
Usher has said he was exposed to things no child should see. Not once, not occasionally, but constantly. When asked years later if he would ever send his own children into that same environment, his answer was immediate and absolute. No hesitation. No explanation needed. Just no.
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
That answer says more than any documentary clip ever could. After Diddy's arrest, fans noticed that Usher appeared to quietly erase his social media presence. No statements, no commentary, just silence. Whether that was coincidence or self-protection, no one knows. But again, Netflix barely touched this story. No deep dive. No real exploration of what that year actually looked like. Another missing file. And then there is the Ava Baron situation. In 2020, a video surfaced showing Diddy with a young girl named Ava. In the clip, she calls him Papa Combs. He kisses her on the cheek and tells the camera that he adopted her. He compares himself to celebrities known for adopting children and presents the moment as something official. The internet reacted immediately. People believed Diddy had adopted a child, but over time, the story unraveled. There were no legal records, no follow-up. Ava did not appear in later family moments. Years later, reports clarified that there was no formal adoption. According to people close to the situation, the video was described as a skit. Ava was reportedly a friend of Diddy's daughters, and the moment was never meant to be literal. Still, the way it was framed publicly raised serious questions. Why present it that way at all? Why involve a child in something so easily misunderstood? And why share it with millions of people? Once again, the documentary avoids it completely. When you line all of this up, a pattern emerges that is hard to ignore. Young artists, young children, access to adult worlds, secrecy, carefully managed narratives, and later silence. Justin Bieber, Usher, Ava Baron. Each story on its own raises concerns. Together, they paint a picture that the documentary was not willing to confront. This is why the idea of deleted scenes matters so much. These are not side stories. They are central to understanding how power operated and who was affected by it. Netflix showed what could be safely packaged. What it left out may be the most important part of all. What becomes impossible to ignore at this point is how much of this story exists outside the documentary's frame. Not because the material is unavailable, but because showing it would have fundamentally changed how viewers understood power, protection, and silence in the industry. These are the deleted scenes, the moments that never made it into the final cut, even though they sit in plain sight across interviews, old clips, and first-hand accounts. Justin Bieber's story is one of the clearest examples. The documentary gestures toward the idea of SA and exploitation, but it never fully sits with what it looked like in real time. Bieber was not just a talented teenager who rose too fast. He was a minor placed into adult spaces, surrounded by powerful men who framed access as mentorship and excess as reward. The footage exists. Diddy openly talking about having Bieber for 48 hours, promises of cars, houses, freedom, and a lifestyle that a child could not possibly understand the consequences of. None of this was hidden when it happened. What is hidden is the context now. When Bieber later speaks about addiction, about using substances to escape, about feeling owned by the people around him, those statements are often treated as isolated struggles or celebrity burnout.
First time I smoked weed was in my backyard here. Got super stoned, and then I realized I liked weed a lot. That's when my desire to smoke weed started, and then I started smoking weed for a while. And then started getting really dependent on it, and that's when I realized that I had to stop. I don't think it's bad, I just think for me it can be a dependency. But yeah, first time I smoked weed, I don't suggest this, but I was 13. Yeah, 12 or 13.
The documentary never fully connects those dots. It does not ask what happens when a child is made responsible for sustaining an empire built by adults. It does not linger on the emotional cost of being constantly watched, managed, and consumed while being told you are lucky to be there. That silence matters because Bieber is not alone in this pattern. Over and over, we see artists describing the same system, a network that disguises control as opportunity, that rewards obedience and punishes resistance, that disappears people the moment they stop playing their role. These testimonies appear scattered across interviews, podcasts, and social media clips, but they are never stitched together in the documentary in a way that exposes the structure behind them. Instead, the focus stays narrow. Individual scandals, individual accusations, individual downfalls. What gets left out is how interconnected these stories are. How often do the same names appear in the background? How frequently protection seems to follow power? This is why figures like Jaguar Wright, Cat Williams, and others feel so disruptive. Not because they are saying something entirely new, but because they refuse to stay within the boundaries of what is considered acceptable to say. Some other narratives were simply too risky to include, and another one of the most telling omissions is Kim Porter. Kim Porter was not a side character in Diddy's life. She was deeply woven into it for decades. The mother of his children, a constant presence across different eras of his rise, someone who saw the public image and the private reality. If anyone understood what the bad boy empire looked like behind closed doors, it was her. And yet, her story is almost completely absent. Officially, Kim Porter died on November 15th, 2018, with pneumonia listed as the cause. But when you look at the weeks leading up to her death, things feel far from normal. Not long before she passed, she appeared at a high-profile Hollywood premiere alongside Diddy. It was a Netflix event centered around her son, Quincy Brown. On the surface, it looked like a perfect family moment. Cameras flashing, smiles in place, the image everyone expected to see. Behind that image, reports say Kim was seriously unwell. She was dealing with flu-like symptoms and a high fever. Still, she showed up. According to people close to the situation, appearances mattered. The family had to look united. The moment had to look polished. And so she stood there, visibly compromised, holding together a public image while her health was failing. There were also quiet conversations happening around that time that never made it into the documentary. Kim had reportedly been thinking about writing a book, a personal account of her life in the industry and what it was like raising children inside that world. Some said it would be harmless. Others believed she had seen and experienced things that powerful people would not want documented. Given her history and proximity, that speculation never fully went away. Her relationship with Diddy was long and complicated. They met in the mid-1990s. They had children together. They separated, reunited, and separated again. There were moments of stability and moments of chaos. Despite breakups and betrayals, Kim remained connected to the family structure. She co-parented. She stayed close. She never truly disappeared from Diddy's orbit. There were darker moments too, ones the documentary avoids entirely. During one separation, Kim was involved with music executive Shakir Stewart. Reports later surfaced alleging that Diddy reacted violently to that relationship, leaving Kim injured. Not long after, Stewart died from a gunshot wound, officially ruled a suicide. The timing and circumstances fueled years of quiet speculation. None of this appears in the Netflix series. In her final days, Kim's focus was on her children. She reportedly sent them to stay with Diddy while she recovered. Just days before her death, she told him to take care of them. Then, she was gone. For someone so central to the story, her absence from the documentary is striking. It is not an oversight, it is a choice. And Kim Porter is not the only missing voice. Another glaring omission is Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard. Anyone who has spent time researching Diddy's past has come across Gene Deal's interviews. He's spoken openly for years about what he describes as the darker side of the bad boy era. He was not an outsider. He was there during the height of the label, during Biggie's rise, during the parties, the studio sessions, the chaos, and the power moves. Gene Deal has appeared on countless platforms, telling the same stories with the same details every time. His accounts have reached millions of viewers online. Yet, in the Netflix documentary, he does not exist. Not a single clip, not a single reference. And the reason becomes obvious when you consider what he talks about. Gene does not limit himself to industry politics or personal beefs. He describes events that are far more difficult to present in a mainstream documentary. Alleged rituals, alleged occult practices, moments that sound surreal and unsettling. His most infamous story involves a trip to Central Park in 1999, just before the verdict in Diddy's nightclub shooting trial. According to Gene, Diddy was terrified of being convicted and sought out help that went far beyond lawyers. Gene claims he witnessed a ritual performed in the park: smoke, burning materials, a white bird in a cage, Diddy on his knees. The details are specific and consistent every time he tells it. He remembers the location, the clothing, the timing. He insists it happened, and he has never backed away from that claim. Whether someone believes the story or not is almost beside the point. The issue is that Netflix could never include something like this. It cannot be verified in a traditional way. It opens doors that the documentary does not want to walk through. And so Gene Deal, one of the people closest to Diddy during his most powerful years, is erased from the narrative entirely. When you put all of this together, the picture becomes clearer. Kim Porter's story left out, Gene Deal's testimony ignored, lawsuits breaking after release, Justin Bieber saying he saw everything, including what was removed. The documentary is not incomplete by accident. It is incomplete by design. The Kim Porter omission fits into this same pattern. Her proximity to the center of the bad boy universe made her a witness to decades of private behavior, shifting alliances, and internal dynamics that never reached the public. Leaving her story out is not a neutral editorial choice. It removes a through line that ties personal relationships to professional power and to the cost paid by those closest to it. When you look at all of this together, the documentary starts to feel less like a full expose and more like a controlled release. It shows enough to spark outrage, but not enough to threaten the broader system. The most destabilizing elements remain off-screen. They brought it up framed as generosity, the silence enforced through access, the way young artists are broken down long before they ever realize what is happening to them. These deleted scenes change how the entire story reads. They shift the focus away from isolated villains and toward an industry that repeatedly creates the same conditions, then acts surprised when the damage surfaces years later. And once you start seeing what was left out, it becomes clear that the documentary is not the full story. It is only the version that was safe enough to tell. So, what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you liked this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.